let's go ahead and just let's plug this all into the calculator. Let's see what we get. I'm going to rewrite pi as 3.14 though, because that's a 1.5, not 1 times 5, because not every calculator has a pi button. So I think if we all write it as 3.14, that way we'd all get the same answer. So I'm going to do 2 times 3, times, sorry, let me do that again. 2 times 3.14, then times 1.5, then times radical 2. And I get 13.32 centimeters for the circumference. Okay, now we've got to do the area. So let's start the area over here. Let's see if we got, I think we have enough space here. Area is equal to the pi times r squared. So all I've got to do is, let's rewrite pi as 3.14. Let's rewrite the radius as, we know the radius is 1.5 radical 2. Let's just go ahead and plug this all into the calculator. So 3.14 times 1.5 times radical 2. I got 6. Oh, whoops, I didn't square. I did not square this. So let's go ahead and do that again. Actually, this might be even nicer, because when I square it, it's going to get rid of that square root there. So I have 3.14 times, let's go ahead and square 1.5. So that gives me 2.25. And let's square, if I square radical 2, that's just 2. So let's continue multiplying this out. So I do 3.14 times 4.5. And by the way, you can just plug this all into your calculator in the first step. I'm using my iPhone calculator, so it's going to take me a little bit longer to do it. And I get 14.13 centimeters squared. All right, that's the area. All right, so let's go through that really quick. Remember, the first step was to find the hypotenuse of this triangle, and then we divided it by 2, right? We divided it by 2 to find the radius. Then we went ahead and plugged the radius into the formula for circumference and area, and we got our solutions out. All right, let's go to example 2. This one's going to be a little bit more straightforward. So we need to find the circumference and the area. So let's start with circumference. So my circumference, we know, is equal to 2 times pi times r. So how can I find the circumference, or how can I find the radius of this? Well, if you notice that the side length of the square is 14 yards, then we know that is going to be the exact same measurement from this point all the way to this point. So because the circle is circumscribed, because the shape is circumscribed, then we know that these two sides are touching, and they're going to be equal to the side lengths here. So the radius, right, if we know the entire thing is 14, then that means each piece has to be 7. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and plug 7 in. So I've got 2 times, let's rewrite pi as 3.14, and then times 7. And we're just going to plug this all into the calculator. So I've got 2 times 3.14 times 7, and I'm done. And we get circumference is equal to 43.96. Sorry, does it have units? Yep, yards. And now let's go ahead and look at area. Now that we know the radius, these two problems are going to be a lot easier, right? We just have to just plug in everything we know, and then just plug it into the calculator. So pi we know is 3.14. We know the radius is 7. So let's go ahead and square 7. Let me just plug it all into the calculator. So 7 squared is 49 times 3.14. and we get areas equal to 153.86 yards. And there we go. Okay, so in example number 3, this time we're going to be given the answer, and we're going to have to go backwards to find the radius for each of these, right? So for part 1, it's saying, if I give you the circumference of 18 units, find the radius. Well, this one says find the diameter and the radius. So once we know the radius, we can find the diameter. So the circumference is 18, and we also know that the circumference is equal to 2 times pi times r. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to plug in, I'm going to take the 18 and I'm just going to plug it into the circumference. So now I'm going to get 18 equals 2 times pi times r. So I know what pi is. That's 3.14, so I can go ahead and solve for r. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide each side by 2 pi. So now the 2 pi's cancel out, and now you're just going to be left with the radius all by itself on the right side. So let's go ahead and calculate 18 divided by 2 pi. So you can do this in a couple ways. You can just plug that into your calculator. I would make sure you use parentheses when you're dividing by 2 times pi if you're going to plug it in all at once. Or you could just multiply 2 times pi and then just go ahead and divide by that. So that's what I'm going to do because I have my iPhone calculator and I can't plug everything in all at once. So 2 times 3.14, that's going to give me 6.28. So now I just do 18 divided by 6.28, and I end up with 2.87. I'm not sure what the units are, but we'll just leave it like that. So that's my radius. So now that I know the radius, how do I find the diameter? Well, the diameter is made up of 2 radiuses. So I'm just going to take whatever the radius is and multiply it by 2. So that's going to give me 5.73. That's what I got for the diameter. All right. So now what happens for the second part when they give us the area, right? So the area we know is equal to pi r squared. And they also give us that the area is equal to 144 pi. Now, if it has the pi in the answer, leave it there because it's going to cancel out with the pi once we plug it into the problem. So let's go ahead and let's rewrite. Let's take the 144 and let's plug it in to the A. I'm just going to plug this guy in here. So we're going to get 144 pi equals pi r squared. So first step here is I want to go ahead and divide by the pi. This is nice because it's going to cancel out. If the pi's don't cancel out, that's okay. Just do 144 or just whatever's on top divided by 3.14. So, but this case it's a little bit nicer. It ended up, oops, no more pi. Pi is canceled. So radius squared. And now I can just go ahead and square root it. So now I end up with the radius equal to 12. So we know the diameter is double that. So that means the diameter is going to have to be double of 12, which is 24. Okay, so we're going to begin reviewing or we're going to begin introducing a new concept. So before we do that, though, I want to just to quickly review that the sum of the angles of a circle is equal to 360 degrees, right? So if you were facing in some direction, right, let's say you were facing straight ahead, and if you turned all the way around and then were facing in the exact same position that you were facing when you began, then you rotated 360 degrees. Okay, so that's all I'm saying, right? That if I go all the way around a circle, it will be a total of 360 degrees. So that means that all of the angles that add up here are all going to have to add up to 360. Right, so that's going to be the same idea. So in this case, I want to solve for x, right? So I know that 40, let's get a different color here. I know that 40 plus 85 plus 90, right, we have that right angle there, plus x degrees all equals to 360. So let's go ahead and add these all up. So let's see what we get here. We're going to get 40 plus 85 plus 90. That gives me 215 degrees. Then I'm going to go ahead and subtract that from each side. So minus, let me zoom in here, minus 215 minus 215. So it'll cancel out there. So I'll just be left with x equals, so 360 minus 215, that gives me 145 degrees. And there we go.